Director of the CCNG Magnet Program. And today, Vicki Brackett will be leading the session. Vicki is a longtime member of CCNG. She's been active in every part of our industry throughout her career. And she was recently named a top 25 thought leader for 2026. Congratulations, Vicki. That's a very nice honor. She's also the founder and chief knowledge officer of Knowledgely. Vicki developed this three-part series for CCNG to share her knowledge and experience, and we are very grateful and excited to have her involved. So let me welcome Vicki Brackett and turn this session over to her.
Oh, thanks, Lon, and thanks for having me. I appreciate that. Hi, everybody. Hope your day, your week, your month is turning out well. I'm excited about knowledge management, and I think the Magnet Program and the education series is really going to help members be able to really think about just different opportunities or different functions of their organization so that they can be a great leader or a better leader even in 2026. We have a lot of moving parts in our industry and in jobs. Just for those of you that don't know me, 60% of my career has been leading BPOs, 40% internal brands. I've managed thousands of employees in customer service, sales, and technical support. So I've worked in a lot of different industries, both in B2B and B2C. So I would say that I'm like a lot of people in this room, that we are the masters of the workarounds, and knowledge definitely is in that category because everybody uses knowledge in one way or another. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right, everybody see that?
It's all good.
Oh, thanks. Okay, perfect. So when leaders talk about knowledge management, the conversation usually starts about tools. We're not going to talk about tools today. We're going to first talk about assumptions in this first part of this three-part series, because leaders believe if it's working, everything's great, where the agents, they have a different experience every day. And so we're looking at it from two different perspectives. And that's what I want to talk about first, the most common perspective. And I call this the perception gap, what we see as leaders and what the agent's reality is. First of all, we know as leaders is that knowledge exists and it's documented. We get our reports every day and we look at them. But what we're seeing is incomplete information because we view knowledge from a system and a reporting perspective. The agents, they view it different. So where we know we're looking at reports, agent reality is that the answers are hard to find. There's too much reading. There's too much information. We know that the search technically works. We know that if our agents put information or words up in the search bar and they push a button, they're going to get knowledge. So we know that technology works. But in reality, there's content conflicts and it's outdated. There's overlapping knowledge and it just causes confusion for our agents. As a leader, we see reports. Metrics shows how much your agents use the knowledge base. Historically, it's usually not very much because of the information, the content that's in there that causes confusion. So they turn back to either transferring it to going to the SME team, asking the supervisor. And the metrics that show up on your report just tell you how many times the information showed up in the report. Whereas an agent might have to search 2 or 3, 4 times to try to find the information. So that metric on your report really is meaningless. It doesn't tell you anything. And we're not getting any major complaints. Once in a while on an exit interview, someone will say, well, I'm getting fired because my HT is too high because my supervisor wasn't around to answer my questions. So we're not getting major complaints, so we figure it's sort of good enough. And the agent's reality is they're getting confident because they have the workarounds they've been using. And so they just keep going. Now, most organizations don't think their knowledge is broken. They think it's good enough. But good enough usually means that the complaints aren't loud enough because we know we have got a system and we know that agents will ask if they don't have the right information. And of course, AI is going to fix everything. When knowledge isn't reliable, people rely on tribal knowledge. That's people. Now, they don't stop working when they can't find the answer. They just adapt. They ask the same people. They build their personal shortcuts, their bookmarks, their notes, their stickies. And suddenly your operation depends on who's working that shifts. So I can't tell you how many organizations I've gone into where my big workaround is to give the workforce management team a list of top performers, whatever top performer happens to be, at that particular organization, that particular week. And I ask WFM to make sure that there are people from that list on every single shift. I mean, it's a crummy way to run a business, but if the knowledge base isn't doing what it's supposed to do, that's one of the workarounds. So from the outside, it looks like it's working, but underneath, it's just not. So work's still getting done. It's just taking longer. There's more effort. And we're relying on people to fill gaps instead of a systematic approach. When I say systematic approach, you may be using paper, binders with tabs. You may be using SharePoint, a proprietary piece of software. You might have one that's bolted onto your telephony system, or you might even have a standalone knowledge management system. But if we've got it documented, it's very different than if it's usable. And again, this will not show up in reports. What really happens is the knowledge is broken, it takes more time, and it's frustrating your agents. Customers feel the inconsistencies, the delays, the uncertainty from the agent as they keep being put on hold. So it's different systems, but the root cause is absolutely the same. And this is where it starts impacting your business. Handle times will creep up as agents search, or worse off, they second guess. First contact resolution drops, causing customers to contact you again. And your strongest people quickly absorb the chaos. They answer the questions, they fix the mistakes, they do the extra work, they help other agents. None of this ever shows up on your reports. The customers, well, they feel uncertainty and they feel delays because they're being put on hold. They lose trust, but they're not complaining loud enough. A lot of times the surveys never ask the right questions to be able to give you as a leader the information you truly need to be able to make business decisions. So we're chasing numbers, and AI definitely will not fix this. So AI is getting a lot of attention, and I want to talk about that for a moment. This AI is not going to fix your broken knowledge. It's just going to amplify what you already have. If it's incomplete or it's inconsistent, AI just delivers bad answers. They deliver it faster. So I've recently been at some conventions. I spoke at ICMI in October. In September, I was at Frost & Sullivan. And the big stat floating around both of these conventions in different parts of the country and different organizations was this: 70% of AI projects don't see the ROI. And this is the reason why. In knowledge management, if you're just pulling in the same information, it's just amplifying your challenge. So I'll give you a quick tip. If you're looking for a knowledge management system, don't listen to the salesperson. They've never sat in your chair. They don't know what you deal with every day, and they're selling features and benefits. And for companies that say all you do is upload and then the agent just pushes the button and all the knowledge magically comes in and will give them the right answer, that's just false. It's absolutely false. The knowledge has to be fixed first. And there's a definite process for this, regardless if you've got a system or you're on paper. It doesn't even matter. Here's the leadership shift that has to happen in 2026. I know that the Magnet Program has made a commitment to help its members with best practices and thought leadership this year. My personal one is I want to make my clients and contact center leaders look like rock stars. That's my personal goal this year. And so knowledge works in an organization because all three of these things actually work together. So governance, what does that mean? It means what belongs and what doesn't belong. So it could be the QA has to weigh in on it. It could be legal. It could be compliance, especially if you're in a highly regulated industry. It could mean marketing, so that the agents are talking with the brand language to the customer. It could mean product department. It could mean shipping, logistics, the warehouse. Anybody that touches that particular piece of knowledge needs to be consulted because we have a subject matter expert in all those departments. And in order for the knowledge to be accurate and have all the right people weigh in on it, there must be a governance committee. Next is ownership. Now, ownership, somebody has to own it for keeping it accurate and keeping it usable. So I'm going to give you another tip. Don't go back and ask for more FTE so you can have a knowledge manager. Do not do that. And I will tell you, probably be turned down unless you have a real seat at the table and you're highly influential in your organization, because companies are trying to reduce costs. So case in point, I have a client, started talking with them last fall, a consumer products company. This gal has been there for well over 20 years. Everybody knows who she is, big brand. And she tells me she doesn't want to do anything till she gets her knowledge manager. And so I tell her, don't go back for FTE. And I tell her I can help her massage her organizational structure so she can find the FTEs. In the FTEs she already has, I'll show her how to do this. I've done this every place I've ever done for decades. And she tells me that she has enough pull, she's going to get them, and she'll get them in January. Well, that was last month. And guess what? She didn't get them. They turned her down. So now she sort of has mud on her face, right? And now it looks like to sell those FTE that she couldn't really sell, she had to sell them that her department wasn't working right. Instead of quietly reorganizing the department a little bit and driving some real initiatives that don't need the COO to approve of it. Ownership is absolutely critical. Feedback is the next. If you don't have employee feedback loops to have agents tell you what's wrong, what's missing, what's inaccurate or confusing, then you're missing a major component to a successful knowledge management systematic approach. This is the leadership shift that has to happen this year. You do this regardless of what technology you're using, and you will see an impact on your organization, and you will be a rock star. This knowledge management is a operating system. Again, whether you're on paper or not, doesn't matter. It's just not content. What I'd like you to take away today are 3 points. Number one is that you're looking at reports and the reports aren't giving you what the agent reality is. The second is that you just can't throw bodies at it. That's what we do. We throw bodies at everything. We all do it as leaders. And the third is you can't just stick AI on top of something that's already broken. And when one of these gears isn't turning right, that we looked at before, you're going to have some challenges, and those workarounds are going to cost you nothing but money. So I have a client right now in Texas, 950 agents. This is consumer services, a well-known brand. They have 950 agents in this one division. They've got the most beautiful SharePoint site as their knowledge base I have ever seen. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. They have 3 full-time people managing it. But just in case the agent can't find the answer, after all this money's been spent and 3 FTE are, holding it up, they have a SME team, 85 SMEs that are full-time, 4 team leaders, because after all, the SMEs have to be managed, and then we have to have QA for the SMEs, and we have to have an ops manager, $4.2 million in labor, because their beautiful SharePoint site that's supported by 3 FTE doesn't work, because they don't have those main gears, the main components, and they refuse to use AI. They don't know how, and they can't get it approved. So this is a major challenge that organizations are having. So here's the cost of organized chaos. On top, it looks beautiful, snow-capped mountain. It's organized. There's a process, a system. It's in place. It looks great. And you're checking off the box that you have a knowledge base and it's working. Below the surface, there's nothing but chaos, because it's all the workarounds. They're talking to each other, the team chats, the tier 2, the SMEs, inconsistent knowledge, too much reading, longer handle times. So people start shortchanging customers so they can keep their HT down. It is hidden chaos underneath what we see as leaders. So what assumptions are people making about their knowledge today? The problem isn't that leaders are ignoring reality. It's mostly because the cost of poor knowledge lives where leaders can't see it. And the process needs to be defined. Most leaders don't fail at knowledge management because they don't care. They fail because they assume it's working, and the assumptions are invisible until you start challenging them. And that's what I want to leave you with today, and we'll open it up for questions. I want you to start challenging yourself and challenging your organization and ask those tough questions on what assumptions and what's going on in your organization, what's really going on where you can't see it, because the reports can't help you manage out of this particular challenge. Anybody have any questions or comments? I know I went fast. Okay, Adam.
There's no way I can not, have an opportunity to speak. The actually great presentation, Vicki, and I think the importance of knowledge management is becoming more and more obvious to everyone because of AI, right? I mean, they need this kind of single source of truth to work effectively. And I think your points are really great. Like, as you were talking with my clients, I was thinking about some examples that are totally or supporting everything you just said. So I'll just give you two and then I'll shut up. One of them was that I had one of the sites at one of my clients' locations had a more senior tenured workforce, right? They had been around for a while, and they thought, just like you just said, the assumption is everything's working great. So the senior leader there thought everything was good to go from a knowledge perspective, up until that moment when all those really top tier, SMEs ended up retiring all about the same time. And all of a sudden, they realized there was this huge knowledge gap between what those people were, that were go-to people that everybody used for reference, to all of a sudden nobody even understood the process anymore. So that's an example of support for the whole idea around the fact that people assume, and they really do that. They do have a problem that they don't even recognize. The other one was the governance that I wanted to kind of make a point around. Actually, I had 3 points. The governance, though, is around the fact that, especially in larger organizations, one person may ask for a change in the knowledge database because it works for their particular division or their particular department, but it may not work for everybody. And this is how if you don't have the governance, you end up having a mismanagement. And then the third thing I just wanted to kind of throw out there was the alignment piece of it, which, it's all around my thing around culture and everything else, is to get everybody to really understand how important this process is of knowledge management and to get everybody involved in it.
Yeah, you make some good points, Adam. The employee feedback loops are critical, and that's where really that employee engagement piece can come from, is that the agents literally, they should be on the knowledge committee or part of QA. People, not the QA person that's been there forever, the person that's on the phone right now that's dealing with everything day to day, you need to pull that information in.
Yeah, have a knowledge champion or something like that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Nikki said her camera's not working. I don't have my glasses on. Can someone read that for me?
Oh, I can talk. I just can't.
Okay.
For whatever reason, the camera is like, you're gonna have to reboot. So
okay.
my question was just about governance as well. So if there is no like true KM leader or manager, what role or skill sets would you recommend kind of leading that charge?
Great question. I would say someone that's super detailed. So, you probably have a team leader that's downloading all the information and making their own graphs and putting colors to them. I call them David details. They love the details. They chew it up. You need someone that's detail oriented to be able to do that, because it truly is about driving this process. When you look at a piece of knowledge, it's about who really needs to be involved with that and making sure that those people are involved in that process with timelines. And it takes someone very detail oriented to do that. The second thing is somebody that has relationships. And this is where being a CX leader, if you haven't built your sphere of influence, so you're involved in other departments, this could be a real hiccup, because that person that you put in charge of that has to be able to have that level of relationship that they can go to IT, they can go to compliance, they can go to legal. They've got to have great relationship building skills, and they need to make people feel important and part of that process, not imposing on them. So it's about someone that also can pull somebody together. So they must have some leadership skills. I would say those two things are extremely important. Now, people say, well, gosh, do they need Excel? Do they need, you can always find a million people that can do Excel, right? You have to have someone that's detailed enough to make sure the process is in place, and you've got to have somebody that also can build those relationships.
Yeah,
Those
and I think also
relationships are key.
yeah, and I think the translation of information. So like when you're talking about like back office, like a lot of times you may have somebody who's going to write up a process, but it's written in a way that does makes absolutely no sense to an agent on the phone. So I think that there's also this translation layer that's probably really important
It is. And
at
I've
the
never done anything in any of my contact centers ever without putting an agent on that focus group, committee,
Yep.
whatever team, because that person, to your point, they know it real well because they have to deal with it. The other thing is, here's another tip. I try to get my people promoted out of the contact center. I want them in every doggone department in the company, because someone will have the contact center hat on
Hmm.
in finance, in IT, in HR, in all of those areas where they don't understand us. We need someone in there that does. So it's building your sphere of influence, building your relationships, have your certain team be able to do that, and then promote people outside of your department to get into those teams.
Completely agree. Thank you.
You bet. Anybody else?
Yeah. Hi, Vicki, my name is Jen Carboni. So thank you so much for the information. We are, we have lots and lots and lots of really bad documentation. So, it's just accumulated. It just hasn't been maintained well. The format isn't great. And so while we're looking at, like, yes, we need a solution, right? What is the right solution? We understand all of this needs to be cleaned up first. Do you have recommendations on the best way to approach the cleanup? Like, do you need the solution first before you back into a format for the data or the information, or any suggestions?
Absolutely. A couple of questions. One, are you looking at a separate knowledge management system?
We're not quite sure whether it will be a separate knowledge management system, if it'll be, we've got an in-house AI and we have,
Okay.
SharePoint, for example.
Okay, for sure. Okay. Um, well, we're going to be talking about in one of the third one, the components of what a good system sort of looks like.
Hmm.
I don't think you pick your system out first, because, and I would recommend starting with a minimum of 60% of your top call, chat, email drivers. I usually start with call because that's your average handle time, right? It's,
Yes.
it's harder to be on the phone. Take your top 60 to 80% drivers and you start there. Now, a lot of the systems, whether you get one that's been like hooked onto Nice or Genesis or Salesforce if it's on your CRM, or a standalone knowledge management system, they have templated processes usually inside there that you can pick from.
Hmm.
So what I would do is I would start cleaning up your knowledge, finding your your top call drivers, and start with the first one, and then clean up all of that. And you can use icons, use colors and positioning on the screen. It
Okay.
trains the human brain so the agent literally can go there quickly. Because the next one we're going to be talking about is the chaos when you do have a system that there still can be friction if it's not set up properly. So you want to train the human brain so the agent knows it's always on the left and it's always going to be pink or
Yeah.
orange or whatever that color is, or use an icon. And you want to make sure your templates are sort of chosen. Now you can always move that into a system once you purchase one, but if you don't, I don't want you to wait and
Right.
once you get the perfect system, because the perfect system really isn't out there, right? They're all have their different bells and whistles. You've got to start cleaning up the knowledge first. So that's what I would do. And I would get a committee together. The thing
Yes.
I don't like about QA folks, and I've had them in every organization I've ever led, is that they lose touch with the ground. They're not on the phone every
Mhm.
day, right? They're listening to, three, four calls. If you've got auto QA and maybe they're, looking at that, but they're not on the front lines. Those agents are super important. And
Yes.
don't just pick top agents. Pick the new person and pick the one that's struggling as well. Then you get 3 different perspectives.
Great. Okay, that's super helpful. Thank you so much.
You bet. We've got 4 more minutes. Anybody else?
Trisha, Natalie?
Yeah, actually, I was just about to jump in. Vicki, I know that you've seen this a million times, as have I, and this sounds like this may be something you're going to touch on later. But it's the number of contact centers that I have walked into where it doesn't matter what the system is or the process for knowledge management, you see the rows of cubicles with Post-it notes everywhere. And what you've got are agents taking this information and figuring out what am I really seeing in the real world, right? We're just talking about the QA folks not really being in touch with what's going on the ground. That's the case for a lot of different departments. I'm curious if there is any one thing that you could think that you wish contact center leaders understood about the reality of those agents on the floor in the middle of a heated interaction looking for that knowledge. There's a reason why they are doing this, and they're making it easier and more palatable for themselves to be able to interact with that information.
My best suggestion, and this is what I do whenever I go in and take over an organization, I go down to the ground with a headset. I don't care if it's virtual or brick and mortar, and I plug in. It won't take them less than an hour for them to see the chaos that these poor agents are going through. This happens every day. I mean, one of the challenges, Natalie, and you probably know this from leading all the years that you have, is that they bookmark their knowledge base. And when the knowledge is updated, that bookmarked knowledge is not updated. So that agent thinks they're doing a great job, and they're pulling up their bookmark and they're giving the wrong information, which drives additional volume into the contact center. And the same knowledge base sits behind your self-serve as well, right? So it's still going to frustrate the customers because it might be bad knowledge as well if they have not updated the self-service as well. So I would say is they need a dose of reality. Every organization I've ever gone into, probably 90% of my career has been turnarounds. And the very first thing I do is I send taped calls to the executives, and they're like, what do we need to do? I mean, this is a no-brainer because they feel the pain. If they don't feel the pain, they think the knowledge is good enough, and you're not going to get to first base.
Makes sense.
Vicki, we have time, I think, for one more question. I know we've got a couple of people from Uline on the call. If you guys have a question, I want to give you an opportunity to get it out, or anyone else who has Trisha.
Hey, it's Trisha. Yeah. Really, I just have a comment that you are singing the song of my people. The knowledge management lives with my team, and we have a corporate management tool and a divisional management tool and additional tools that we thought would solve the problem, and what we're doing is using all the tools. So I'm excited just to hear like what possibilities are out there to help us.
Yeah.
We need help.
I totally get it. And real quick, I didn't really know about this till I actually sold software for a year. And that's really when I learned about a system. And I've worked for some big brands like Apple. And I put together all kinds of workarounds because the agents couldn't find the information. And they had a great knowledge base, but it didn't work. And so, yeah, I feel your pain. Think of all the millions of dollars we've all spent, right, through the years, and all the other contact center leaders around the world by workarounds. But we're the master of workarounds. That's why we're good at what we do.
All right, Vicki, I know we promised to get everybody out after 30 minutes. So do you have any last comments before we close?
Well, just one more. In our next session, we're going to zoom on the gap about systems when they have frictions, even if you've got your SOPs, even if you've got your systems, how they still can cause frictions and what to look for. So that's what we're going to do on the 18th of February. And then the third session, we're actually going to show you best practices and some different types of things just to sort of open your eyes and realize what's out there.
Well, it's going to be an outstanding series. And I know we broke it into 3 parts so that we could give everybody, just make it easy for everyone to participate. So hopefully we'll see you guys back on the 18th. Thank you so much for being part of today. Really appreciate it. And Vicki, can't thank you enough for leading this session for us and putting this series together. It's so valuable. Knowledge is just a cornerstone of everything that we want to do going forward, and we got to get it right.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, everybody. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.